I can't take it anymore. I'm sick of Xiangling. I try to play diluc, my Xiangling does more damage. I try to play yoimiya, my Xiangling deals more damage. I try to play hota, my Xiangling does more damage. I want to play Klee, her best team is Xiangling. I want to play raiden childe. They both want Xiangling. For those of you not in the know, this is a character in Genshin Impact who developed a reputation for being quite literally the embodiment of that one Thanos quote.
I am inevitable.
Enter Xiangling, a character so legendary, so iconic, so famous and memed on for all the wrongfully right reasons that at this point, the community is wondering if Hoyo's in on this too, or if we've just become so Xiangling-built that we're conditioned to believe everything's a buff to her. I mean, as the saying goes, when you're holding a hammer, everything looks like a nail. On a more serious note though, Xiangling has been a consummate presence in Genshin's metagame literally since the very first day. Despite having a very simple gameplay premise and being attached at the hip to Bennett, Liyue's culinary artist has witnessed no shortage of different experiences that even with the Pyro Archon scheduled to be released later on in version 5, there's virtually no chance that Xiangling will ever fall off at this rate. A 5-star version of her can come out right now, and I have a feeling she'll still find a way to stay top tier. So for today's episode of Why Everyone Plays, we'll be discussing how Xiangling has made the entire Genshin community her bitch. We're going to be discussing how Xiangling maintained a stranglehold on the meta. You want to know something else that appears to be everywhere in this day and age? Only the best browser of all goddamn time, we have Opera GX. Opera GX has been a long-running partner of mine since I became a full-time YouTuber back in 2021, and it's still my browser of choice to this day. It offers you a ton of customization compared to other browsers, chief among them being the GX mods. You can play background music, make sounds with their keyboards, change the theme and colors of their browser, adjust the wallpaper inside, and do many more. All of which can be located in the GX store to find the perfect combination of mods for you. There's even Genshin Impact related stuff, such as a dynamic live 2D wallpaper of Hutao that I've been using for a while, so if you want, I can include the link to that in the description as well. Just recently, they integrated AI tools to the browser for your convenience, enabling you to access ChatGPT and ChatSonic on the sidebar instead of having to manually find them, which happens to be my favorite convenience by the way. The sidebar gives you quick access to various platforms like Twitter, Instagram, Discord, TikTok, and whatnot, so you don't have to search them up to access them. Adding more convenience, if you want to watch a video while browsing a different tab, you can do so through GX's video pop-up tool, separating videos into a floating overhead frame for you to watch if you're doing something else. Great for people who don't have multiple monitors. Now, if you're interested in trying out Opera GX but feel discouraged by the work it will take to import everything over, don't worry, Opera lets you download any extension that you would find on Google Chrome, and the quick import tool lets you copy-paste your bookmarks, browsing history, cookies, and so on as well. Just go to synchronization and the process is pretty intuitive. Definitely recommend Opera GX. I've been using it going on for years now on my computer, laptop, even on my phone, so use my link on screen or down below to get started. For now though, let's go back to why everyone plays Xiangling. As a member of the Power 5, Xiangling has a very long-standing reputation to her name. The first 3 years of Genshin's timeline saw these 5 individuals act as the cornerstone of every player's roster, free-to-play and pay-to-win alike. And though over time more 4-star characters have been released to prove they could also eat at the grown-up staple, these 5 have remained a staple for the game, pretty much even to this day. Although in recent times their grip on the metagame has been contested by others. The main draw with the Power 5 is their unusually good performance in spite of their rarity, to the point where many consider them 5-star level in value. Not only that, but just about all of them with maybe the exception of Sucrose have been or are best in slot in multiple parties, making them incredibly versatile and therefore desirable. A trait that all 5 of them share is their ability to be present on the field without being present on the field. As you may know, sub-DPS characters are the most powerful archetype in the game for the simple fact that since you can only have one character active at a time, units whose abilities and effects persist even upon swapping out can essentially bypass that condition. So if you were to have 2 characters with the same ability, except one of them disappears upon switching out while the other one stays, the one that stays is infinitely better. And no one, I repeat, no one demonstrates this better than Xiangling. While I understand her kit by this point needs no explanation, for the sake of being thorough, let's quickly talk about what she does. Her flagship ability is of course Pyronado. Displaying her mastery over both fire and polearms, Xiangling sends a Pyronado whirling around her. The Pyronado will move with your character for the ability's duration, dealing pyro damage to all opponents in its path. Why did I just read the description verbatim? Because that too is a copy pasta. It's honestly a very apt description for the move, but it doesn't fully explain why it's such a horseshit attack. Multiple characters have ultimates that project a ton of AoE damage off-field, Ganyu, Navia, Beidou, Venti, Kasuha, Ayato, what have you, but Pyronado has just the right combination of traits to make it stand head and shoulders above just about everyone else. And believe me, there is so much wrong with this burst, it's not even funny. First and foremost, the way in which it deals damage. Pyronado orbits the active character, meaning anywhere you are, so too the attack will be, differing from most other continuous off-field attacks that remain in a static position upon cast. This is especially helpful if you have to chase after enemies or move to a different spot on the map. Even though bursts like Ganyu's Celestial Shower have immense coverage, there's always a chance enemies could be outside of it, causing you to lose out on the full efficiency of the attack. All of this comes with practically no loss of meaningful AoE, as the effect radius of Pyronado is quite large. Second factor is the actual damage itself. With C4, you can expect a Pyronado to strike an enemy around 12 or so times if you're standing still, more if you rotate counterclockwise to your opponent to shorten the time it takes for the Beyblade to make a full orbit. With each tick doing 238%, that means along with the initial 3 hits, you're staring at no less than 3000% over the span of 14 seconds, an incredible amount of damage to have on an AoE attack, for a 4-star no less. When counter-rotating with the move, I believe the number of hits can go past 15, at which point it becomes one of the highest damaging bursts in the game. In fact, it actually outdamages diluc's elemental burst almost consistently, albeit with the trade-off of no pyro infusion, but depending on who you play, you couldn't care less about that anyway. Third factor has to do with Pyronado's means of applying damage, with its application being proc-based and not fixed compared to most other attacks that have a predetermined amount of hits. Pyronado also has no internal cooldown. It will continuously apply pyro to all targets it passes through, courtesy of it being a separate entity. Having a steady stream of pyro application not barred by any cooldown affords Xiangling the ability to play either reverse or forward vaporize, lending credence to her immense versatility. With a billion pyro hits, if you pair her with someone who can apply an equal amount of hydro such as Childe, Xiangling can vaporize every single one of her attacks. Conversely, because Xiangling has somewhat if not the most pyro application in the game on a single ability, she's effectively the only character who can facilitate a forward vaporized team, as most other pyro units can't apply sufficient amounts of pyro. Granted, usually you bring another pyro along with her, but for those who like to play Farina in forward vape teams or the newly minted Moalani, Xiangling is a must-have, no exceptions. In essence, by virtue of dealing a lot of damage itself, Pyronado can reward the player greatly with Vaporize, and by virtue of applying a ton of pyro, Pyronado can also be useful in the less common but equally devastating forward Vaporize as well. Fourth factor, yeah, you thought I was done? No, we have so much more. Since Pyronado is classified as a standalone entity and not a buff, it snapshots. For the uninformed, snapshotting denotes an ability maintaining the stats at hand upon cast for its entire duration, hence the term snapshotting the numbers. This means even after a buff wears off, its effects will still be active on Pyronado for the duration. While that comes with the drawback of being unable to dynamically account for buffs that get applied thereafter, it allows you to basically extend the duration of buffs that otherwise don't last long enough, and most importantly, you can sustain buffs that typically only apply to the active character. This is how Xiangling's wonderful friendship with Bennett began. Bennett's Fantastic Voyage offers a staggering boost in attack, but only to the active character. Those who swap out lose the attack bonus, but thanks to snapshotting, so long as she casted it while in his circle, Xiangling can snapshot Pyronado. So not only will the active character have Bennett's attack boost, but Xiangling will as well, giving you more mileage for that buff. That applies to every buff behaving like this. This is why you see Xiangling and Bennett constantly paired up with each other. Having 2 pyro gives you bonus attack through elemental resonance, while Xiangling gets to move off Bennett's attack buff and gets some extra battery from his skill. Prior to version 3, you never brought one without the other no matter what team you were playing, and even now you frequently pair the 2 of them together. Fifth factor, and this is one I feel that no one really thinks about, but it's probably the most important one. Pyronado wouldn't have been anywhere near as infamous if it wasn't a pyro attack. Even if it had the same numbers, if it was a cryo attack or an electro or even dendro, it wouldn't be nearly as popular. With pyro being the common denominator for the only 2 amplifying reactions in the game, it means all stat boosts given to a pyro attack will be multiplied by 1.5 or 2 times along with the base damage of the attack. So if we take things like Bennett's Burst, not only do those increase the strength of Pyronado, but then it gets amplified even further via Melt or Vaporize, giving Xiangling even more power. Those 5 aspects are what make Pyronado one of the best elemental bursts to ever exist, period. There is just so much you can do with an ability that has no internal cooldown, tons of damage, tons of coverage, and off-field persistence. If you're looking for someone to attack a bunch of enemies, you can go Xiangling. If you're looking for someone to augment a hyper carry, you can go Xiangling. If you're looking for someone to drive pyro reactions, you can go Xiangling. If you're looking for someone who contributes DPS without needing to be on field, you can go Xiangling. She's one of the least intrusive characters in the game while simultaneously being a very productive one too, since you can quote-unquote steal buffs from your teammate without actually stealing them. Even Bennett, the person Xiangling never leaves home without, can run into circumstances where he's really not all that great. For example, if the main carry skills off HP like Hu Tao, or occasionally Fantastic Voyage doesn't last long enough to keep up with those with longer rotations like Sino and Shell, but Xiangling really doesn't have any restrictions for being used. That is, unless you don't need or want pyro whatsoever. The thing is, Xiangling checks off enough boxes to where you can make a reasonable case to use her for just about any team. Even if you're not playing for reactions, you could just throw her along for damage and AoE coverage, which is never a bad thing. It just so happens that she coincidentally fits the bill for so many different characters in different ways. She's good for Raiden National since Shogun's skill gives bonus damage to bursts based on their energy cost, one of the rare instances where having a high energy cost is a benefit. Then, being a team with the main attacker, Bennett works nicely for Shogun as well, and if you're bringing Bennett along, you might as well bring Xiangling. For Childe International, Childe's Great Hydro application gives Xiangling an easy way to vaporize. Meanwhile, she can snapshot Bennett's attack and Kazuha's elemental damage boost for extra power. For someone like Linny, being an attacker who needs 2 other pyro units, Bennett works well with them, so that means, by extension, Xiangling is coming too. Now we have Milani for forward vaporize. That means you need lots of pyro. Guess who? Xiangling. I just listed 4 completely different teams. There's also Ganyu and Risley for Melt, you can use Xiangling. Bloom teams, you can use Xiangling for Burgeon. Burning teams, you can use Bennett and Xiangling with Emily. Overload teams, you can use Xiangling. Navia Geo teams, you can bring Xiangling. Literally any team you can think of that can afford to bring Pyro, you can bring Xiangling, even without Bennett to be honest. Alternatively, if you're just starting out and don't have that many units, Xiangling can be a main DPS in a pinch. Her Pyronado will still be as strong as ever, like you can just go her, Bennett, and play a conventional double Hydro team with Xingqiu and Yelan. That's a pretty solid team in its own right. It's actually hard to think of reasons not to play her, hence why everyone plays her. Another contributing factor to Xiangling's high popularity is how easy it is for her to get indirectly buffed because of how adaptable Pyronado is. For example, if a new polearm comes out, Xiangling can find some way to make use of it. Calamity Queller, Engulfing Lightning, Staff of Homa, Scarlet Sands, The Catch, Ballad of Fjords, Blackcliff Pole, Deathmatch, Dragon's Bane, Favonius Lance, Missive Windspear, Prospector's Drill, Wavebreaker's Fin. Pretty much 90% of all polearms in Genshin are usable by Xiangling in some shape or form. Secondly, new characters. I just mentioned one. 8 different parties you can use her in. Any team that can make use of 2 pyro characters will always be Bennett and Xiangling. Mavuika comes out, don't care, Xiangling will still find a way to creep into her team. Kanish being a burning character, bam, Xiangling. If there's a new top tier character that comes out and they can bring along Xiangling, Xiangling's market value goes up. Something else to think about is accessibility. Being a 4-star character that you get at least 1 copy of for free, everyone is guaranteed to have her compared to someone you have to pull for. There might be a character many players would use if they were freely given to us, but the last time we had a free 5-star was never. We never had a 5-star character given to us for free in the history of Genshin Impact. What do you mean I'm forgetting someone? You must be Delulu. Adding insult to injury, Xiangling has received arguably the highest number of reruns of any 4-star in the game. Just this past version 4 alone, she got rerun 3 separate times, granting people plenty of opportunity to get her essential constellations. Accessibility plays an integral role in character popularity. If you're practically guaranteed to have a maxed out Xiangling by playing the game long enough, you're obviously going to use her quite a bit. Therefore, even if a better option comes out in the future, you'll be so used to her that you'll keep using her anyway, cause if it ain't broke, don't fix it. For the majority of us who have been playing since day 1, Xiangling was one of the first characters we've ever gotten. Every time we used her, she would always pull through. Other units have been a stable part of our accounts too, but for one reason or another, they got pushed down in favor of new, stronger teams and characters. The thing about Xiangling is that true to her personality of being a bubbly girl everyone would want to be friends with, Xiangling plays nice with everyone, consistently giving her a spot in new teams that come out. From Linny to Nicolette to Navia to Arlecchino to Emily to Milani to Kanish, Xiangling is always around. People are hoping the Pyro Archon will be the one to shut her down. You don't understand. The Pyro Archon is nothing but a tool for Xiangling, a mere pawn in her 5D chess game. The only way Xiangling will get power crept is if a 5-star version of her comes out with the same exact stuff as her, just with more power, and I mean the exact same stuff. They have to also have an orbiting massive AoE attack that does big damage, has no internal cooldown, can snapshot, can apply tons of pyro, lasts a long time, blah blah blah, just to even put a dent in Xiangling. And even then, there's a chance that won't be enough because there'll be a 5-star while Xiangling is a 4-star. She is literally irreplaceable. Other members of the Power 5 can potentially get shoved down in other respects, except her. Bennett's market share is somewhat diminished over the years for many reasons. Xingqiu is still fantastic, but he's not the only one. We have so many broken Hydra units. Sucrose is debatably the weakest of the Power 5, and, you know, Kazuha. Fischl is still in my opinion the best Electro character, but she has to share that spot with Shogun, Miko, and Shinobu. Who is Xiangling's competition? Literally no one. I don't give a flying f*** what Mavuika's kit's gonna be. She cannot be stopped. You try to play Linny, your Xiangling will deal more damage. You try to play Gaming, your Xiangling will deal more damage. You try to play Arlecchino, your Xiangling will deal more damage. You try to play Mavuika, your Xiangling will still deal more damage. She grabs you by the throat. You fish for her, you cook for her, you give her the catch. She isn't satisfied. You give her engulfing lightning. She doesn't need that much ER. She grabs Bennett and forces him to throw himself off enemies. You just need to funnel her a bit more. She can deal more damage with Homa. You will pull for Homa. You will have enough primogems. She'll grab your credit card and it must be accepted because this is not the end. It never will be the end. For the rest of this godforsaken game, you'll have nothing but pure, no ICD pyro application. What a cruel f***ing world. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed my totally mentally sane episode of Why Everyone Plays. Let me know your thoughts on Xiangling in the comments down below, but as always, I'd appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Vars, join my Discord server, and check out my other Why Everyone Plays episodes if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.